So when we're cutting a line, it's not just what side of it, and you don't actually cut on the line. When you've cut your material, you want to be able to see the line left, as if we've measured that distance. That's how much you want to keep there. So we've measured 51 millimeters, and that's how much we want to keep. If we cut that line, the thickness of that saw will put us off by 1 mil or a half a mil, and we don't want that. You want it spot on, or as close as you possibly can. So the timber has to be secured so we can hold the timber against the bench hook. And someone highlighted a very clever idea. Is if you put the saw against the edge of that bench hook, it can help you cut it straight. Now, I tend to hold it a little further out from it, but the side of the line that we want to cut on is actually the waist side. It's not the left, it's not the right, it's the waist. So we mark our waist. X. This is called heel waist. This is the bit we want. So we foot on that side of the line, leading the line here. So if we put that timber on here, and we'll hold that with the palm of our hand, and we're going to use our knuckle here as a guide for the saw. Now that can move. If I use my thumb, it wraps my thumbnail. I don't particularly like it personally. Some people do it, but you can't get your thumb out of the way fast enough if you do cut it. It's not that you always would, but if you have your knuckle against it, that can move quicker out of the way. And I have cut that too many times to put it in the way again. So I use my knuckle, and I suggest you use your knuckle to guide that saw. The other thing is how you handle and hold the blade. So that's important. Our whole body is configured to make this saw cut. It's not just about the saw. So we're holding the saw like this, holding the saw here. Our pinky, our little fingers just dangling around, but really it should be held with those two fingers and the thumb. Your index finger will point out, and with that, when you've got the timber on here, you line up in a straight line the whole saw with your hand, your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. Should all be, and your body will be out of the way. So you don't stand in front of your line, because if you do, your elbow's out this way and you cannot control it. So you can't control that straight. So you stand out of the way, put your arm in here so that this is in a straight line, shoulder, elbow, wrist. Hold that timber there. We'll just make a couple of backstrokes on that. A backstroke is pulled towards you. Pull the saw towards you until we make a little groove in there. That groove is called a kerf, the cutout. So we'll make that kerf a little deeper. And when we've got it deep enough and we're comfortable with that, out the dust out of the way, you can then run the blades through that, keeping an eye on this line and down that edge that you can see, and as close as we can, but leaving the line there. Then as you're cutting, the weight of the saw will bring the blade down through it. You just got to move it back and forth. Well, this is quite a good saw actually. That's very heavy, that brass backing. And the other thing with that is that you keep the saw horizontal. If this is horizontal, the blade is horizontal on this particular saw. It's back and forth, and you don't need to go to the end because it can skip out. We don't want it skipping out and cutting us. So we're taking it back up to about that point and then forward. And you can blow this all side of the way as you're cutting. And when we get it down to the bottom, this blade level, the reason why we cut it on the bench hook is the fibers will get cut there, whereas if we cut it here off the edge, sometimes the fibers can snap. But either way, that's that cut. You can take a little sandpaper to it and clean it up afterwards. That's how you want to do it. But it's helpful for me to help you watching with your errors and how to correct them. Okay.